Amnesty International Nigeria has been asked by some protesters to exit the country immediately. Now, the protesters accuse the organization of making attempts to destabilize the country. Who are these protesters? Do they represent us Nigerians? Well, Amnesty International has reminded President Buhari that they once protected his own rights. Well, I still have my guests, John Wesley and Bernard Iniga, both political analysts. Thank you, gentlemen, for staying with us. So, I'm going to call for a video right now of these protesters, and let's listen to what they had to say, and then we'll set the tone for this conversation.
Okay. Let's be honest. No international organization has the right to drag our land with us. No international organization. You are my guest, and I say we no longer need you. We don't want you. The honorable thing to do is to do what? Just vacate. But they are trying to tell us that they are more powerful than we Nigerians, the owners of the land. And it is not true. It is not so. And it can never happen. If we are pushed to begin the 40 days occupation, our members will make a daily advance of 1 meter upon the premises of Amnesty International until we enter its reception, workstations, conference rooms and offices to boldly throw out its staffers and escort them to the airport, to their country, where they originated from. The 40 days will witness impassioned Nigerians overrunning this office with their properties to permanently occupy the place until the needful is done. It is reassuring that more Nigerians have indicated interest to join, if not only just Nigerians in Nigeria, but Nigerians from outside the country. Nigerians who are very, very passionate about the stability and peaceful coexistence in this country have also expressed their willingness by phone calls. And if they allow us to comment on the 40 days, each and every one of them have expressed their willingness to join in this struggle.
Well, I had to play that video so it would set the tone for this conversation. So in Amnesty International's response to this, it's a very interesting response, and it was directed at Mr. President. More like sounded like those protesters, we know where they're coming from. I'm just saying. But they said to Mr. President, remember, there was a time we fought to protect your rights, because Amnesty International is a human rights organization. So I'll start with you. Who do you think these protesters are, and whose interest do you think they're representing? Is it your interest or John's interest? I'm just wondering.
You know, it's quite unfortunate. In a country of over 200 million people, you have all shades of opinion, all shades of ideas. You could call some sane, you could refer to some as insane, and that's why we are a nation, and that is why this is a democracy. That woman has spoken, and I do not think she represents my opinion, my idea, my intellectual capacity, my exposure, and my experience in any way. She doesn't seem like she has what it takes to make a decision for me as a Nigerian. She said Nigerians are in support of what she's doing. Unfortunately, I don't know the press. Why we should have seen her name, because we need to know the names of people like this for the sake of the future. And I'm very particular about this. As a nation, we must begin to adopt what I call a name and shame policy. Because these same people would come up tomorrow, maybe unfortunately, to tell me that they want to represent me in one portfolio or the other. I would reject vehemently to such a... She is acting a script. It is obvious. I don't know whose interest she's representing, but I think those who are smart enough can see whose interest she is representing. But like I said, she does not represent well-meaning Nigerians like myself. Let me also tell you what is playing out in that video. Very unfortunate. Poverty is a global epidemic. It does not know tribe, it does not know language, it does not know religion. You see, I told you that the psyche of the average Nigerian has been bastardized. Amnesty International is a human rights international organization. I do not think that they have done anything to offend any law of Nigeria. If they have, of course, the Nigerian government has a right to say, oh, we don't want you anymore, you have violated our laws, and you are not keeping to terms. But until the federal government comes to tell us what law exactly that the Amnesty International has flaunted, then I think Amnesty International is here to stay. Let me also amaze you. This is the only organization that can give us mind-blowing statistics about the realities in the Northeast, about how many people Boko Haram is killing per time, how many people being buried in shallow graves, about the 1,000 persons buried, military officers supposed in quote buried in shallow graves. I understand where this is coming from, but I would say to the average, reasonable and meaningful Nigerian that the only way to let Amnesty International know that we, as reasonable people and as global citizens, that we respect their position as an international organization and that we appreciate what they do in terms of defending and speaking up for the rights of the average Nigerian, and above all, which I know this problem is coming from, the data they read out does not seem to go well in certain quarters because it reveals certain secrets of the dark places to the open. So that is why Amnesty International seems to be a target.
Oh, a threat.
Oh, a threat, you know, and we know those people that are against it. She gave Amnesty International a 40-day ultimatum. Well, I feel like also maybe going out for a protest one of these days in support of Amnesty, maybe I should consider it to let people like her know that she does not have a monopoly, or whatsoever it is, the group of interest she represents does not have a monopoly of protest. We will protest in support of Amnesty International because I feel, and a lot of reasonable Nigerians, that Amnesty International is doing a great job, and I want to let them know that I and a lot of reasonable Nigerians appreciate them.
John,
all right.
Before you say what you want to say, when we have protests of these nature, especially for an international organization as highly placed as Amnesty International, we would hope to see bigwigs, people that, you know, if they speak, they would be able to catch our attention. But I looked through that video, even the people who were protesting, I didn't see really anybody of high repute, talk less of anybody that looked like they were serious. So what message are you getting? What signals are you getting from that video?
And let me shock you. I'll say a few things. My learned brother is, I'm not going to say colleague, I'm not a lawyer.
Because you're not a lawyer, huh?
So
okay.
we also want to look at a few things because number one, the president might not be aware of this. That's number one. Number two, following recent happenings, I listened to, what's his name? The man that was on around 6:30 p.m. to 7 on the show. Mm-hmm. He said something about security and all of that. I would not be surprised if somebody, maybe from the military or from any other quarter, would actually sponsor this. I would also not be surprised if somebody from the political party just say, you people should go and do this, just to cover a few things. And I've also seen a couple of things in the last few months to realize that many things happen in Nigeria, and it is very, very possible that the president will not be aware. Just like many things happen in the United States of America, and it's very possible that the president is not aware. Just like, you know, I keep telling people, if you watch Hollywood movies very well, crime and all of that, they don't tell you things that are related. They tell you things the way they happen. So you can have an understanding that things happen and probably the president doesn't even know. That aside. Now, Amnesty International, another perspective. It's good they have reminded the president that they fought for him. It's very, very good. Left to me, this set of people do not need any response from Amnesty International. They should just go ahead to do what they are supposed to do, continue to do that. However, the man that was the security expert said something. He said, when you have stayed longer in a place, talking about the military people, mm-hmm. and when you don't have certain things, and the people there are feeding you, they are giving you this, they are accommodating you, you are rubbing shoulders, you are having this kind of mutual relationship, you are bound to be
sentimental?
Not even sentimental. I'm trying to get that word. You are
sympathetic?
Bound. No, apart from you even being sympathetic, you are bound to be conscripted in a way or somehow that...
Okay, so some form of association.
Do you understand? You would just like, well, this is okay. So, what am I trying to bring out? You see, you know, we were having a debate here before we went on air, and I said, those guys in this Amnesty International, they are Nigerians. That's the truth. These ones, they're Nigerians. And anything in this country, there are things I cannot say on television. If you ever run for office in this country, you will see things. I'm telling you, Oha. Particularly if you are running for an office in Abuja, you will see things. I'm telling you, Oha. The truth of the matter is, many things would have happened beyond what we can begin to say here. Omoyele Sowore was arrested, and I am of the opinion, as much as I do not subscribe to his arrest, but I am of the opinion that somebody like him shouldn't have led such a protest. That's the truth. You cannot run for an office against the sitting government in less than 6 months. You go back on the street to lead a protest against that government. Either the government is sane or insane, they will get you arrested. They will never want you to be, say anything against them. Not even when you say that by this time tomorrow, DSS, this government will be no more. Not even when you say that. So what am I trying to establish here? Amnesty International, just like he said, they have been doing so fantastically well. They should continue. That woman, I would have also said that we should lead a protest that the Nigerian government, the media house, should produce this woman. We want to know who this woman is. We want to know her name. Why is she speaking for us against Amnesty International? I think that should be the line of our own protest. That's where we should commence.
Interesting. And so, because people have been arrested or called to the DSS or the police to explain themselves for less things like this. Okay, quickly, Amnesty International has written so many reports about the army, about police brutality, a lot of these reports. And I'm wondering, for every time these reports were brought against Nigeria, we always had a negative response. We never really ever took them in good faith and said, oh, thank you for bringing this to our notice, we'll work on it. So could it also be that, I'm painting a picture here, whoever masterminded these protests has somewhat fed off of the negativity coming from the high powers in this country, hence the reason why we got that protest? Okay,
well,
I'm giving you 1 minute.
Yeah, before I go into answering your question, you can see it's obvious. Poverty has become a tool of governance in Nigeria because people are poor, because they're looking for the next meal, because they are looking for the next available means of actualizing their vision, their goals in life. They fall for anything. And so it is obvious from the video, you can see the manner of personalities that claim to represent Nigerians calling for Amnesty International to vacate the nation, that it is unfortunate. It just reflects the state of poverty, the state of underdevelopment. It also reflects the mental psyche of the average Nigerian, above all, the intellectual incapacity or the lack of education, just a reflection of the lack of good and quality education. Because when the man is educated, you cannot send him to the streets to talk bullshit and nonsense.
Okay, you can't say that on TV. Quickly, John.
All right, just like you said, I think one of the things we must bring to cognizance is this. I will still refer to what the man said. When it comes to security issues, he said something like, you don't bring it in the open. So I'm always trying to make a balance. As much as I wish to nail, as much as I wish to say it is like this, I also always want to acknowledge the place of some things. Mm-hmm. You understand? So for this, number one, it's unacceptable. Number two, I would be of the opinion that the president would come out clear to speak about this. Funny enough, the recent happening of the military killing the police officers is way out of it. And I, in fact, honestly, I must tell you that it shows that something is wrong with us.
Okay. Well, thank you, John. Thank you, Bernard Oniga. John Wesley is a political analyst, so is Bernard Oniga. Thank you, gentlemen, for speaking with us. It's been a very interesting conversation.
Very interesting.
And I'm hoping that whoever is watching would think a lot about our conversations today. You know, there was thinking about. But we'll take a short break for your comments concerning our conversation on the Middle Belt Forum, stating that Nigeria will collapse before 2030. And when we return, I'll be giving you my take. Well, it's time for my take. So, Amnesty International being asked by a group of unknown people who say they're representing Nigeria to leave the country. For what reasons exactly? Oh, they say that they're trying to separate the country or, you know, destabilize the country. Where did you get that from? And I'm hoping that the federal government will come out with a statement clearly letting Amnesty International know where it stands on this so-called protest. And moving on to that, because before we move on to anything else, Amnesty International is fighting for human rights. Your rights, my rights, the rights of those people who came to protest against them. Amnesty International is not a Nigerian NGO. It's an international organization that works with facts. And all they do is advice. All they do is give you information and hope that you can use that information to better your lot as a country. And they do this for every country in the world. And talking about the issue of uniting as Nigerians and coming together for peaceful coexistence so that we can reap the dividends of democracy, I have asked so many times, do we have what it takes to come together as Nigerians and blur those lines of religious, ethnicity, and political biases? Do we have what it takes? If the answer is yes, then it has to start with you. It has to start with me, because we can't just point hands to or fingers to our politicians and say, you're the problem. Oh, is this politician that's the problem? What about us? Where are these politicians coming from? They're coming from within us, and they actually draw from the energy that we serve up. So if we start as a people to say no more, We can't keep fighting ourselves. Maybe that way, if we come together as a people, united with a common purpose, we can surmount this trouble of division or the issue of lack of performance from our political leaders. Maybe we can now begin to hold them up to their promises, or hold them responsible for everything that they have ever promised us. Let us have good governance, but we cannot have it without you. And talking about you and you, everybody else who's watching, let us come together in unity, because we're that nation bound in unity, peace and freedom, huh? Let's live up to our Nigerian hope. My name is Maryann Okon. It's been Plus Politics.